Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to take you through the process of creating the back of my Digipak. I've decided that for the overall concept it will have a strong indie abstract influence, which is demonstrated through the image of a hand with a gradient colour tint of the fingertips and an eye in the centre. This is to represent how my artist, Rue, was blinded by her own perception of love and was taken over by so-called demons. I'll go over this concept in another video, but the process is here to give an understanding of how I came to produce my final product. So I initially began with the picture of the hand. I like this one because there's a slight shadow in the background which matches the front cover of my Digipak, which has got lots of shadowing from the leaves and the tree prop that I created to intentionally make shadow. So I thought this tied in really nicely. Then I used the online program called Pixlr to colour the tips of the fingers. I did this using a colour mask. This was the same as what I did for my front cover, and there's a tutorial on my blogger page on how to do all of this colour editing, so go check that out. The next thing I did was actually put the eye in the centre of the hand. I could have done this using a clone tool, but since I've been using a lot of layer masks, it seemed easier to do that, so I put the image on top and rubbed away at it using a paintbrush, and that revealed the eye. Once I was happy with that, I decided to add a vignette. I didn't traditionally use a black one because that felt far too harsh, so I trialled a few different colours. I did red, blue, pink I think as well, but all of them felt like they either didn't match or it appeared a bit too female, and I have got a gender neutral market, so I didn't think that pink was appropriate. It seemed too female, so I added a purpley colour which actually tied in nicely with the fingertip. On this image you can see that I've now added the title, Celestial. I didn't actually keep this font in the end because, well, I came across a problem. Because I put the font onto an image and saved the image like that and then put this onto Adobe InDesign, I had to enlarge the image, and this stretched the font so much that I couldn't do it using that method. So I decided to put the image onto InDesign first and then select a different font to overlay rather than stretching the image with the font on it already. And this worked a lot better, it was much more crisp. When it came to adding all of the songs, I aligned them in the centre. This was inspired by both Dan Kroll and Florence and the Machine. I think it appears really neat and doesn't detract or interfere with the hand, and I really wanted the hand to be the main attraction of the back cover. I also put the text in a coloured box. This had a transparent effect on it, so when it reached the edges it disappeared because there was a feathering gradient on the box. So the pinky colour kind of disappeared into the background. And this made it really easy to read and was also similar to Dan Kroll's style. Lastly, I want to mention the font. So I used Century Gothic in a white colour and separated the letters and also elongated them. I did trial doing it with a black colour and with a drop shadow, but both of these felt too harsh, so I decided that the white would be more appropriate for my style and genre. And the final thing that I did was add a barcode on the left and moved the text box slightly to the right because I didn't want the barcode to stand out too much, and this seemed to fit really nicely at the bottom of the page. The next challenge that I faced was creating the CD disc. My original plans were to have the sun and a moon to create a connection between the song that I'm doing, which is called Cosmic Love, and the album, which is called Celestial, all creating a theme of space and the solar system. So I found a sketch online which was similar to my artist costume of the moon and tried to add the coloured canvas background using Pixlr, but when I exported it, the image became really fuzzy, as well as the sun silhouette looking more grey than black, so it didn't stand out at all. So I came to the decision to forget this and try a whole new concept. I found an indie pattern. Again, this was a hand-drawn sketch, and I felt that this linked into my target audience who supposedly like hobbies like doodles and sketches. But once the layer mask was added, you could see so many white imperfections that it made my disc look really unprofessional and quite unrealistic too. So I found an image on clip art, and this time it wasn't a sketch. This meant that the outline was so much darker and it stood out against the background colours. Also, by using one picture of a sun, it fitted around the whole of the CD. So this simple concept was a lot better than the complicated one that I had before. Finally, I added the typography onto my disc. So I put Celestial at the top in white and Ruin the Demons at the bottom in black. I felt that both of these colours tied in with the disc, the back and the front of the Digipak, so all of it created nice synergy and it all looked very interlinked. I also added a drop shadow and an outer glow using the effects and the right click button on Adobe InDesign, and this meant that it was a lot clearer. Without it, it was quite difficult to read the writing. And I also decided to curve the typography.